Hey everyone, I'm T Frank, and today I wanted to do a quick video just talking about the Canon RP and 10 things that I like about this camera. That's not to say that there's things that I don't like about this camera. I just wanted to focus on the things that I like for this video, and then I do have future videos coming. So definitely make sure you subscribe to this channel for those future videos. One of the main reasons why I picked up this camera was for the price, and at the time that I purchased it, the price was $1,300 US, and I thought that was a steal. But had I waited at least a year, I think I've seen it drop as low as $899 plus taxes, of course, or $999 with the kit lens, and I think that that is an exceptional deal. So if you learn anything from me, do not buy the camera when it's first released, because the prices on this camera right now for a full frame camera I think are pretty crazy. I don't think that there's a camera in this range right now unless you look at the A7 S2. You probably can find it used for around this price. I'm not really sure because I haven't searched, but I do think that the Canon RP for what you get is a great price. Next thing that I love about this camera is its small compact size. Now it's not as small as my Canon M50, however I don't find it much bigger than the Canon M50, which is kind of a pro and a con. The pro being that I can carry this camera around with me everywhere that I go, just putting it in my bag, my purse, or my son's diaper bag, and just really having it on me at all times. The con being that because it's so small, the battery in it is also small and battery life suffers a little bit. I'll talk a little bit more about this in other videos, but I will say that the battery isn't that great in this camera. However, the compact size, I really like the compact size, and if that's a trade-off that I have to make right now, I'll deal with it. The next thing that I like about this camera is the ergonomics, and I said this when I unboxed the camera, it just really has a great feel to it. Now it's not like its professional body siblings, you know, the R5 or the R6. However, I do think the build on it is a pretty solid build, and I don't feel like it's something that is extremely plasticky. Like it just really has a good feel to it. You probably would have to go and pick it up and feel it for yourself. I also like the placement of the dials and the buttons, you know, on here. Coming from the M50, I didn't realize until I got this camera that, you know, I was missing these dials and buttons on the M50. For me as a beginner, I can kind of find the dials and buttons, like if there's a lot of them on the camera, to be a little bit intimidating. But as I continue to grow and gradually, you know, get more camera gear, I think the Canon RP with the dials and the buttons is actually perfect. It's not too much, and then it's not too little. The next thing is something that a lot of reviewers talk about a lot, and we often associate it with Canon cameras, but now we're gonna have to, you know, move over it and accept that Sony has this articulating screen too. So the fully articulating screen is something that I'm growing to love even more. I've had the 180 screen and it really didn't bother me much. I actually kind of like the 180 screen in certain situations because it actually looked like I was still looking into the lens of the camera, which right now I have to really focus on doing that because I definitely want to look off to the side over here where my camera LCD screen is and kind of make sure that I'm still, you know, in the frame. But I will say that this fully articulating screen is a great screen, and then just piggybacking on that, what makes it even better is how responsive Canon's touchscreen is. So you can navigate the menus with this, and I have to, you know, give a shout out to Sony because they've done this now too. So that argument about the fully articulating screen and a touch screen for the menus is no longer valid, but this is definitely something that I love on this RP. Another thing that I talk about a lot in all of these videos is the dual pixel autofocus, and this is something that I can appreciate because when I first started out, I was looking at cameras such as like the T6i and T5i, and none of those cameras featured dual pixel autofocus. So automatically I skipped those cameras and I was looking at the 70D and the 80D. And those were the cameras that I wanted to focus on because they had that dual pixel autofocus. But the RP has dual pixel autofocus, you know, the M50, the SO2 that I had. I also had an M100 and that had it as well. And it's something that I must have on my cameras. if dual pixel autofocus isn't on the camera, I'm not buying it. This is still a continuation of the dual pixel autofocus, kind of. You know, this camera did get an upgrade, a firmware update for the eye autofocus, and it made this camera a lot better. So in video, you can actually lock in on that eye a little bit further out. And then in pictures, you can do the same. And for me, I have a toddler who's running all the time, and I'm trying to grab those pictures of him, so that eye autofocus is clutch. So it'll lock in on his eye, and then I'll go ahead and I switch the camera to servo. Once you switch it to servo, it's gonna be tracking, you know, as he's moving. And then I also put it in continuous bursts, and I'm able to get, you know, pretty much, for the most part, 8 out of 10 in focus pictures. And he's doing a lot. He's running, he's jumping, he's falling over. So this is something that I definitely love on this camera. Having the headphone jack and being able to see the audio levels on the RP is game changer for me. Having the M50 and the SL2, I didn't have those options. So a lot of times I just would have to make sure that I plugged the mic in correctly and hope that the audio was pulling. So this is something that I definitely like on this camera. If this is something that is a deal breaker for you guys, you definitely want to look at the RP over the M50. Another thing that I like about the Canon RP is having access to the RF lenses. Now these lenses are mad expensive. I actually just purchased my first RF lens and I got it refurbished from Canon. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the video for that. I will leave a card in the description for that video. But having access to these lenses just lets me know that I can keep this camera probably for a while and continue to grow with it. I think Canon is going to invest a lot in these lenses, and it's definitely something that I want to have access to. I also love that the RF lenses have the control ring. I love setting this to my ISO, and I feel that I can get to my settings really quickly. One thing to note, however, is that the RF lenses are a little bulky, so they can be a little bit front heavy, and I honestly think that a lot of the RF lenses are a little bit big for the RP body. And another thing that I like about the Canon RP is that it tends to shoot a little bit better low light than the Canon M50 or the Canon SL2, you know, since it's a full frame. Now, it's not on the level as Sony A7S line or whatever else shoots good in low light, but it is pretty solid. And the last thing that I like about this camera is that I have a tool to create with. This is something that I love picking up. When I pick up this camera, it makes me want to shoot video, makes me want to shoot pictures, and that's something you definitely want to have in your bag with you. That sums up most of the things that I love about this camera. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I'm T Frank, and I will see you guys in my next video.